My name is Oscar Feliu. Native of Chile, South America, but I've been in this country so long that it gave me a chance to learn different styles of flight time throughout the United States. Most of these patterns, especially the ones I'm about to demonstrate, they are the life cycle of the caddisfly. They originated in Michigan, but they have been successful throughout the West and many places in the South as well. But most of these flies, they have the tendency to be true to life, so they have all the features, eye, legs, the wingspans, all of that. Many flies are impressionistic. You only have the color and the shape. We made sure that this fly would take an extra 30 seconds and produce a fly that has all the features. Okay, the first fly we will tie is going to be the larva. For the larva, we have chosen a live wire, a Scott hook. Now there's many manufacturers of this hook, and no matter how we tie flies, first thing we do is take the barb, pinch it down, get it out of the way. We have to put a bead on it. So we're going to pick up a glass bead, hopefully black in color. It has a sheen to it, and it will give a very good illusion of a head and make a very nice clean head and help to weight the fly down a little bit. Now, how much weight you put on a fly like this is entirely up to you. We'll be using a thread. It's 12-aught. Many people do not use 12-aught. It's too light for them. But I find it to be so helpful because you can make lighter heads, smaller heads without crowding in on the subject. A 12-aught thread, this is a European style thread made by Giorgio Benicchi, and it's readily available, but there's so many threads that you can use, and really that's the least important of all these flies. For the body, the next item to tie in is a nymph rib. There's many other styles of this kind of vinyl work or polymer or plastic as we call them. And some of them are called nymph rib, larva lace, liquid lace. There's so many different names, but basically they all work just the same. The difference in the nymph rib is you have one side that is flat and one side that is round. If you want to make sure that you get the flat side down and the round side is in the upper part of the fly. The next thing we do is take some rabbit strip, any rabbit strip could be, and the color you want to put, this is an underbody. I'm going to use white because, as you'll see, this fly will have a two-tonality. So we'll start with this clear color. The dabbing is done so all the tips, all the guard hairs are sticking out, because you're going to want those to protrude through the wounds of the vinyl. Now I may take a couple of these wounds to build the body to what you want. Now, the flies that I'm tying right now, this larva, could imitate a Racophilia, which is a free floating larva. They don't make cases. They live among the grasses and logs and rocks, and they are always on the move. But if we leave enough of these fibers coming through the wounds of the plastic, you can also imitate a hydropsyche. We're just finishing this, make a very nice underbody. Then we're going to wind the larva or liquid lace, and I'm going to turn it upside down because it's easy for gravity's sake to do the first wound. Once you secure those, you can turn this, leave no space in between. One wound right next to the then the other one. Just make sure they stay together, and whatever fiber from the rabbit come through, it will be fine. You'll see later on how this works, and it gives you a quite realistic look to the fly. Now the question you may have right now is, does this really attract the fish? Well, fly fishermen, we tie a lot of flies to satisfy ourselves as much as we do to catch the fish. So right now, what I'm doing is trying to come up with as realistic of a pattern as I can possibly create. Waters are composed of rivers are composed of so many different types of water. So I need to tie a fly that will work in fast water or very slow moving water, clear water, where the fish will be hunting prey by eyesight. And I want them to be completely convinced that this is the real thing. And for that, of course, you have to become more realistic. I got it. Once you finish dropping the material, mind you, you need to leave about 1/16 of an inch in between the bead and where you finish winding the plastic. Now there's a little bit of a fasten here we're going to take off. We're going to take a lot of these things off as to leave just a few coming through. There. Okay. I feel comfortable with that. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color this. This is going to give you the two-tone that we were looking for. Because as you know, most of this insect larva, and in general, most insect has a lighter tonality in the abdominal section, the underside, and lighter on top. So if it's a Rhacophilia, it's going to be quite green in color. They call them the green dragworm in many places. But if these bugs are exposed to the sun, we call them sun-kissed, and we're just going to touch a little bit of brown on it, give a more realistic look to them. Just at random, no particular pattern. There. So now if we look around a little bit, you can see the underside clear, and you look around again, and you see the top is going to be dark. That will give you a more realistic look. Now for the legs, and even though these are little larvas, and you may not pay attention to sometimes when you grab them and see them up close, that there is a wing case, they do have a wing case. And that's what we're going to portray next. By that, we're going to use some pheasant tail, get about an equivalent to about 1/4 of an inch of material. I'm going to trim all this fussy stuff that we don't need, get them out of the way right off the bat. And we're going to measure this. Now, in my way of tying flies, the shank of a hook, the length of it, is my measuring stick. No matter whether it's a straight hook, curved hook, I always use that as a measuring stick. So it would be a half a length of a shank of a hook, a full length of a shank of a hook, a length and a half. That gives you symmetry. Okay, let's see if we can make that work. It's good to talk about it, but let's see if we can make it work. So I'm going to measure from the height of a hook to the end of the abdominal section. That's going to be my shank right there, roughly. And that's what we're going to tie on top of the hook. Okay.
I had too many explosions going off in my ears.
The next thing we do is get some peacock after we trim this, and we'll make a little rope with peacock and make the thorax out of that. Now I got my 4 filaments of peacock right here, and I'm going to put them behind the bead, tie them up, trim all these little stubs. We don't need those. There. I like to make sure that this wraps well. Now, to make the rope out of peacock, I'm going to use the same thread that I already have that I'm using and wrap the peacock around it, because peacock it can be broken easily when the fish takes the fly. This will maintain the peacock in one place, is secure it, and guarantee you that it's not going to break in a million pieces when the fish takes. Then we just wind it around here to make the thorax. Now you may say, this is a lot of details, but when you catch the fish, then you realize the details were worth a while spending time putting them on. Now we're going to trim the rest of the peacock. There. To make the legs, we're going to pull forward this fasten tail. We're going to secure behind the bead. Spread them open. And then by moistening your fingers and pushing down the filament, you're going to secure them in a down and back pointing position. There. We do one at a time. Now, if there is a couple of fibers that don't work very well at first, don't worry about it. You can always get a thread and cover it. Are you out of tape? Okay. But the whole idea is to have those legs pointing downwards and towards the back, because that's the natural position of those legs. A lot of these larvas, even though they're free-floating larvas, they cling very tough to the rocks or to the moss in which they live. And when they get dislodged, they go on this panic, what we call a panic drift. And they almost turn into a little ball to try to dive for the bottom. And we're trying to recreate that so the fish will be convinced that they are a vulnerable morsel of food coming down, and they'll get a bite out of it. Now, once we do this, we finish it. I put everything back with my fingers and wound it several times. Okay, that's basically the fly, but we need to do a little touching right here. Now, let's get the brown marker and just touch it up a little bit more. There. Just to revise the colors a little bit. Now, if you know your home waters, you may find out that the Rhacophilias in your home waters may not be as green as this one, may require another coloration, so you need to use the marker, permanent markers, and adjust them. Now I'm going to quote with this dried instantly 30-second polish. I'm going to quote this Sally Hansen polish. I'm going to quote the wing case, because the only part that I can see that could come unravel when the fish bites.